my vice. Man up from Mars, he tripping, I put that on guard. I got the digits, but I am not calling. Wizard at night, this be that forum. I'm shooting stack with that, sunshine after that. Shooting stack with that, sunshine after that. So yeah, you know, I had a conversation with her, but it's like the signals is always crossed. I mean, like, I say yes, cause she asked me to say yes. And then she's like, I didn't want you to say yes. I wanted you to understood that a yes was required to answer the question. I was like, what?
We are back. Welcome to the spot. It's back after all the spot. Welcome to the show, The Grown Folks Talk. Tonight, we are ripping the Band-Aid off and talking about the myths and truths of independent women. We have had some really interesting dialogue online today, and so it should be very lit and enlightening. So y'all get ready, get your cocktails, fingertips, because we want to hear your questions and comments from tonight's show. And an additional thing, we will be doing we'll be meeting every 2 weeks. So see us next thing, and we'll be in person. So let's go, Montaigne. Hey everybody. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
So tonight we're kind of doing a conversation, like a serious deep dive into the ideas of the independent woman and the truth and myths about it. Welcome back. Thank you, Quiet Storm. And you know, when we were talking about this topic, Anthea, I think it was one of the things of the conversations we were having about it, from the mentality, the mindset, our lives as women living in a space of being independent. So I want to really kind of just let's level set and really think about, when you think about an independent woman, who is she, what is it, and so on and so forth. Let's just kind of define it. What is an independent woman? I'm gonna start with the brothers, actually. Brandon.
Why do I have to go first?
I'll let you go first.
After y'all told me I look like I'm in prison.
Oh!
But we know curfew is up soon, so
Real soon. In general. I think that in order to define what an independent woman is, you first have to define what independence is. And so what does independence mean? Is it a mindset or is it an action? Or a being, So for me, if you think about just the word independent, it means that like you're not controlled by anyone and free to make one's own choices or decisions as well. So then the thought comes to mind that in a relationship, do we take on a certain level of control as the man? Like just naturally what our responsibilities are, like to protect, to provide, to please. So we do have a certain level of control in the relationship. And does that mean you're giving up a certain level of control?
So Brandon, again, so what is an independent woman to you when you meet her? What is it? What would you describe an independent woman?
One that I wouldn't date.
Oh, okay. Well, that's quick. And there we have that.
Jump right in, like.
Right, you're like, I just wouldn't even date her. Okay.
I need to be needed.
Okay, so an independent woman to you is a woman that does not need you.
Right. So I wouldn't need you. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got what you need, and anything else you can buy some batteries for.
Woo!
True. You can't put them in me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, so an independent woman is a woman who does not need you.
Yes.
Bottom line. No ifs, ands, or buts, no chasers. Anthea,
Does not
what
need
is
it.
what is an independent woman in your mind?
So I think I have a different take on it because I think I would categorize myself as an independent woman, being that I live by myself and I'm actually taking care of things by myself and taking care of other people like my mom, responsibilities, finances, things like that. However, I look at it a little bit differently when it comes to being in a relationship with someone. I like the interdependency in a relationship and making sure that each person are uh, closely intertwined with each other. I don't know if I'm explaining it
We're gonna dive.
good, but
We,
I think there is a need for a dance in a relationship, and it's not necessarily each person giving up anything, because a man could be independent as well too, independent man, and a woman could be an independent woman, but coming together in terms of your mindset, as you talked about, Brandon, in a relationship. I think there is some mutual respect that has to take place between both parties.
Dave, Dave, I'm really interested in your answer because you are a married man, and I want to know, like, how do you view an independent woman?
Okay. So for me, I mean, before I start, first thing I'll say is that I think in a relationship there's codependency no matter what. I think in a healthy relationship, you depend on each other.
Absolutely.
To get through the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. So to me, that's very important to clarify first. But for me, an independent woman is basically someone that necessarily doesn't need me for everything. They have their own mind, they have their own life. Understand is that before you met, you were an individual. So now when you're coming into a relationship, it's
Right.
about how do you work with that person, but still keeping your own individuality, who you are. So to me, that's where I think sometimes the definition of independence becomes a problem. For me,
Yeah.
like Brendan just said, he goes, I don't want someone who's independent. That's not somebody I want to date. And the minute he said that, I automatically knew what he meant. At least I believe I agree with what he was saying. Because I think the definition of independency, I think one is different for every person, but I also think it's also I'm kind of realizing also it's also a generational thing on what they believe
Yeah.
independency is. Um, the one thing that people don't always want to talk about when it comes on independency is that also plays a role, especially in this generation now, is finances. It becomes a big thing. Well, if because I tell you, I've heard it, I've seen it. When a woman say I'm independent, and when she's talking about that, she really is just focusing on finances, and then it becomes an issue where, and I think Brandon can relate to this, where it is I'm not asking you to need me for your finances. It's a need by as a man in a relationship and certain things that I control. And it necessarily doesn't have to deal with finances, because when a man comes into a relationship, at least I don't remember ever dating anyone or coming to and telling someone, well, I'm an independent man. What does that really mean?
Are women saying that? Like, are women out there saying I'm an
So
independent woman? I need a man?
So I can I say, I think when I think about this whole independent woman, I think it's like, as women, especially women of our generation, we were raised to be independent because I think we saw our mothers be so dependent that there is just something, it's just like, make sure you're able to take care of yourself so you don't have to necessarily depending on someone to take care of you, or with being independent there could be some mistreatment and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I feel like it's a balancing act. I think all of us independently financially do take care of ourselves, especially, and we have to in this economy. I don't know too many. There probably are some women who they have a partner that takes care of them, or men that have someone who actually financially take care of them and they're not necessarily working, but they're holding other aspects of a relationship. But when I'm thinking of in my courting phase, majority of us show up in a space of independency and trying to move into that space of maybe interdependency and so on and so forth in that courting phase. And I always feel like that's where it becomes complicated, not necessarily the relationship, the actual trying to get to know each other around that dance with him and her, of that independence, of that independent mindset and finances and everything else that comes into play. No?
So I don't know what men are hearing from women, because it's obvious something very different. I don't know that I know too many women that go around talking about their independence and they don't need a man. I don't know those women. However, they probably exist. But it's really funny, especially for me. So I'm going to talk about me and my personal experiences when it comes to that sort of a category that people sometimes put me into. Like, I know I get passed over by men sometimes because they look at me and just make an assumption that, oh, well, she is high maintenance and she looks like she blah, blah, blah. So I ain't gonna date her because I gotta do too much and she ain't gonna want me. And that's just based on a look, nothing else. I don't know what it is that I'm giving off. So I think I'm more curious to the men, especially. What are some women giving off that gives you that feeling that they're an independent woman that don't need a man or wouldn't like you for you?
I think the first thing is there are women that say that, right? So that's the first.
Okay.
We don't know what their definition of that is. Like, if you're saying I'm an independent, like, what does that mean? Again, is it mindset, or does it just simply mean you're taking care of yourself? Because that's the natural assumption, that you're taking care of yourself. You're not hurting for anything. You eat, you have a house, all of those things. So I think that when you state it or feel the need to state it and lead with that, then it's something else there in the mentality. I would say, as far as you, if a man has that perception of you, that's not the man for you. So, like, I wouldn't concern yourself with that. The man that's going to be for you feels comfortable.
Right. I know. I just was curious.
He understands, like, that's okay. Like, she is a woman of class, and that's what I want, is a woman of class. And so I understand what that means. And so I'm approaching her with that understanding.
So Brandon, you said you just don't date a woman who is independent, but most women you meet are probably independent. So how do you?
My definition.
Okay, but so my question is, how do you differentiate the woman that is, let's say, hyper independent, versus woman that
We're gonna create words.
Well, no, that's what they call it. They call it hyper independent. Supposedly.
Can you define that for me?
So I guess somebody who leads with their independence, like, I don't need someone, I can do this, I can do that, I can blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I got this. They're constantly leading with their self-sufficiency. Does that make sense? Like, they put it out, like Brandon said, they talk about it, they're about it. They may be dropping all the things they do, what they have, so on and so forth. They may be actually, I don't know, but I feel like that is the hyper independent woman.
And that is, I believe, Brandon, I don't want to put words in your mouth, the type of woman that you can't date. And I agree. That's the person you can't date. I don't need you. If I'm dating you, I don't need you to tell me you're independent. I think based on your mannerism, your behavior, and our interactions, I will know the type of woman you are and whether you're independent or not. To me, once again, when we're talking about independency, I'm talking about someone that has their own mind. meaning like we can go out and do our own different things. There's things that we do together, things that we do, apart. There's friends that you have. There's things that you're interested in that I may not necessarily be interested in, and we do those things. I mean, and that to me is independency. You're not always under me for your happiness. Now, I will say this: I do believe I kind of go against the whole thing about in a relationship you shouldn't depend on another person to make you happy. You wouldn't be with that person unless they made you happy in some shape or form. So to me, where I have a problem with it is that there are women out there who basically want to exude and show their independency. Well, to be honest with you, if you're that independent on everything, then why do you need to be with anyone? And why do you feel it's so important to press the fact that you're independent? Like, who are you proving that to? Not to me, because if I'm dating you, it's because I have some type of interest. So what exactly do you think you're proving to me?
Exactly. Right. And that's my point. Like, it's the leading with it, or feeling that it is such a part of you that you have to express it. I actually assume too. Like, if I see you and I'm assuming you're a well taken care of woman, like that you do it on your own yourself, unless you're telling me you got a man. If you're telling me you're single and you look,
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit, so I didn't hear.
Say it again.
Say it. Repeat yourself, Brandon. She didn't hear you.
I'm saying
you had cut out a little bit, but I didn't hear anything.
She has delay. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
It's that Jersey Wi-Fi.
It is.
She didn't hear that either. Huh?
No, she didn't hear it yet. I think she's going to hear it right now. No.
I didn't hear anything.
And I'm speaking to you.
But go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So
Could you say it one more time?
A reset. Go ahead, Brandon.
All right. Okay. Now we're back. I said, I'm assuming that if you look like that, then you're taking care of yourself, meaning somebody's not upkeeping you if you're telling me you're single. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So Brandon is that, I wonder, like, when women show up like that, right? Let's say you're going out with a woman and y'all are just meeting up, and at the end of the date, y'all have had a great conversation. At the end of the date, she's like, you know what? She's just like, I got this. And she pulls out her black card, her American her American Express, or whatever, platinum, whatever. I don't know what the cards or whatever, but a high-end card, and pays for both of you guys. Is that a threat? I mean, does that make men who don't like women who kind of lead? Does that
turn off? Is that what you mean?
Well, now is a difference. If you pull out a MX Gold card, then I'm gonna look at you like, okay, how dare you insult me? If you pull out a black card, I'm gonna say, hey, I'm Stedman.
Wait, what?
You're on a different level, and I understand that there's different levels to this thing.
But so why are you stepping?
Bow down gracefully.
Wait. Why are you?
But you come pulling out a regular card I can get. No.
Well, what if she just wants to treat you to a meal? She's like, you know what?
We're not there yet. If we're just starting to date, we're not.
I think it depends, and I agree with him. I think it depends on the time and the place. We're first dating. We're just meeting and we're going out. I invite you out. Let's go grab a drink. Whatever it is. Okay. To be honest, I can't remember a date I've ever been on where the female paid, because that's just not in my nature. So we go out. Even if she offers, I'm like, listen, I invited you out. I got this. Maybe on another day we'll have that conversation if you wanted to. I have no problem. But it depends on where you are in a relationship. I mean, I've been married now almost 15 years. To be honest, we go out and pay. There's no big deal. She says, "Oh, listen, I got this one." Okay, whatever. I mean, it's different. But when you're dating and you're courting, there's a little bit of a difference. And I think it's also in how you do it. I think, and he alluded to this earlier. If you're outwardly showing, like, you want to show me like, yo, I'm independent, I don't need you to pay. It's like, I don't need you to show me that. That wasn't the purpose of this date. And to me, no, let me, because I tell you this much. I have seen it where even in one of your shows, I remember one person said, like, I basically told the person I was dating, I can't handle my own, and she pulled out her black card. And I'm like, but what is the purpose of that?
But what? So listen, I like sometimes we're just like we've had a good, if we're courting and we're having a good experience, and I'm just like, yo, let's meet up. Like I've been enjoying us, whatever. We've been dating for maybe we've been going out consistently for maybe 2 months, because I think the courting stage is very different when you decide to be in a relationship. So my question, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't even think I pay everything with my black card. Maybe because I'm trying to get points. I'm not even thinking about let me one up him and show him I'm gonna pull out my black card just because I have a black card. Like, why can't it just be just that? Why does it have to be more than that?
I think we're saying two different things. If you've been out, you've been hanging out, he's been paying for everything, and now you want to offer to pay something, two ways that can happen. You can say to him, hey, babe, I want to take you out this weekend. It's on me. And then he already knows, like, that's the expectation. She's taking me out this weekend. Or you can offer and go with what he says. If he says, no, I got it. Or if he allows you to, like y'all been, like you said, hanging out for a couple of months. And in that moment, you offer to pay, right? Because the expectation is he's been paying. Y'all haven't discussed you paying. And you offer to pay in that moment. If he says, okay, cool, you got it. Or if he says, no, I got it, you shouldn't be forceful saying, no, I want to pay, And because then he could say to you, hey, get the next one.
And to add to that, you added something. You said, you've been dating for a couple of months and you say, oh, we want to go somewhere. You're introducing the fact that you want to go out, that you want to go do something. You're kind of already introducing like this is kind of on me. I think that's a different circumstance or experience where literally he's out, he takes you out. And, he's going to take it. And then you basically are pulling out your card to say just, whatever. I mean, to be honest with you, I will tell you, I did have this one experience where, at the end of the date, I remember trying to, and then she was like, no, I got this. I said, no, it's okay. I got this. And she was like, no, I got this. And I'm like, no, I got this. Can I be honest with you? That kind of ruined the rest of the night, because at that point, it was one of those situations like, what are you proving? I asked you out. We're going to have a good time. I said, I got this. You said you want. I said, no, it's okay. Now we can call it, you can call it ego if you want to say. I mean, at times I can't. I'll tell you one word that does get under my skin. I'll say insecurity. It's not about insecurities. It's basically like, this is what I told you I got. It's not a big deal. Like, and I like what Brandon said earlier. Listen, if you want to do this the next time, you got this. But at the moment where you're pressing the issue, the question is that why are you pressing the issue?
Why is it that serious? Why is it that serious?
Why is it that serious? Like, what like you forcing your way to pay for this is going to change what?
I think sometimes it's just like it's something I just want to do. I don't necessarily know if it's something like it is. I'm not saying forcing the issue, but I think sometimes it's like women just want to be like, you know what? I've been having a really great time. It's just a moment of appreciation. Just like if I invited you over to cook dinner, I think this is the whole thing when I talked about have men evolved. Like, I think sometimes we just get caught up in this. I think we're even scared. I think sometimes women have also been gun shy to be like, if I don't pay, I don't want to be embarrassed, because you had those moments where it's like, oh, we're going to go Dutch. Yeah. Instead of going Dutch, I just rather pay. That may also be a sense of trauma, but I do believe like you have those moments too, where you're constantly in that space of being, because you present, as Anthea said, a certain way, that there's an expectation in your head of how you've been dating, that there's a possibility like, you know what, let me just go ahead and just throw it out there just in case. Just like the reach for the wallet. Go ahead.
So, one person made a comment and said that, maybe they just don't want to be beholden to you. And I think that's where my point is that sometimes some women come in with this mind frame. Why do you feel that me paying means that you're going to be beholden to me or that you owe me anything? To be honest with you, I'm a believer of that. People kind of tell you who they are slowly, and you see it, and you choose to accept it or ignore it. If you're dating the kind of person that you think is going to be like, oh, I've done this, you owe me, or this is that, there's something that, but by me paying, there's something that has to be reciprocated by it. That person, it. That person, So they're not hiding that. That's a little bit different than someone who genuinely is just out there. I'm enjoying the time with you. I'm a man. I want to take care of you. I want to make you happy, make you smile, or whatever it is. And to me, I will admit this sometimes for men, at least I'll speak for myself, is that as a man, I like to say, yo, I've made whoever I'm dating and who I'm married happy. We went outside, we had a good time, you're enjoying yourself, and then that's it. There's nothing more than that. If you're dating a guy where you feel like you have to pull out that card to prove something, then let's be honest here. That person, you shouldn't be messing with that person, period, in my opinion.
I agree.
And can I just say the reverse of that too? There's some men that do that too. They talk about their accolades, their cards, their cars, whatever it is. I don't know. But once a guy starts there and the conversation can't evolve about more than that, then that person obviously is not for me, number one. But number two, I don't know what he's trying to prove as well too.
Somebody asked in the chat, Brandon, is it about the money? Is it about finances for her? Can she make more than you?
About finances yeah, she can absolutely make more. So it's not about finances in that sense, but it's always about finances because we need them to survive and live. So, but we have to talk about that if we're in a relationship, what that looks like for both of us as well. In that particular case, when we're just dating and I'm paying for the dates, me personally, if you were going to do something for me, I would rather you say, I want to cook for you, because that's going to take me over the edge. Like, not take me out to dinner. Like, speaking of independence, I take myself out to dinner. So, cook for me and show me that appreciation of, we've been having a good time. We've been hanging out. Now I'm going to cook a meal for you. Like, that's your way of, instead of offering to pay for an outing, offer to cook a meal for me. And I'm old school like that. So that is going to get you in a lot quicker than taking me out to dinner somewhere.
Or taking you to an go ahead.
But one thing on Natalie that I wanted to circle back to what Dr. O was saying, in that situation where he said, I'll pay for it, and she kept insisting over and over, I'm sorry, I don't agree with her doing that. He already said he's going to pay. What is the point of her continually insisting that she's going to pay? I think that's some masculine energy right there that just was unnecessary.
Well, I think Natalie was trying to say that could be born out of she doesn't want to be beholden. Somebody said that, like some type of trauma, or
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I think a lot of the I think there's healthy independence, and I feel like there's independence that has been formed out of lack of trust or brokenness or divorce, and you just have like, you know what, instead of depending on a man, I'm going to depend on myself because I know it's safe and I know how I can deliver, unfortunately. And somebody said cooking meals the same as me. Yeah. Somebody, I think the funny thing is like, I agree. See, sometimes it's easy.
I'm going to fix your sink too. So it's okay. If you need me to do something, put up a ceiling fan, do something around your house. It's about what they call an act of kindness or whatever it may be. So yeah, if we're dating, we're kicking it like that. That's an expectation. Like, hey, Brandon's coming over. Let me let him, put this TV up on the wall.
Can I use a personal experience just to
absolutely.
So when I talk about codependence, things like that. So, I make more money than my wife. That doesn't mean that she is necessarily dependent on me on certain things. I mean, you guys know my wife. She's a very independent person. She speaks her mind. She does what she wants. And so to me, the problem where it comes once again is people's definition of independency. And I think sometimes people don't understand what they think is independent is not necessarily independency. Because for me, to be honest with you, where the codependency comes in is that as independent as my wife is, there's so many things that she does for me outside of, I'm making money, that I don't have to worry about, that makes my life so much easier and I appreciate. Someone would say, oh no, well, she's making money, she's dependent on your finance. But I'm like, do you know how many things I depend on her for that I don't have to do, that has nothing to do with finances? And that's the problem, that people can't separate or define those things in two separate manners. If I'm saying that correctly, you understand that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I always ask, like, I feel like there's all these expectations when we talk about our love language and what we expect. And I know as an independent woman, I think for me, when I think about me being an independent woman and coming into a relationship and being interdependent, I had to understand, like, have safety when I felt safe and trust to let my guard down. And I always feel like, what do men need from women when they see a woman that shows up that is very independent, but they're attracted to and they want to take it a step further? What are your expectations when you meet that particular type of woman? And you're like, okay, she's it, but there's a lot of things I got to get to make this work.
I think for me is her naming that this is something she wants to be in. Like, I want to be in a relationship where I don't feel like I have to worry about everything. I think Anthea has said it before. And she named what that is. So if you're coming into it naming that, now I know we're on the same page. You know, if you're not naming that and you're still claiming your independence and that's something you're trying to hold on to, then I know we're not going to work out, you know, in the long run.
But
But
on
of
the
course, I have to build that trust with you for you to release some of that to me. I have to earn that you're not just going to naturally become vulnerable with me in 3 weeks or 3 months. You know what I'm saying? That's something we're going to have to get to. But I understand that you want to get there with me. And
so
so we're
Brandon,
working to build that.
so how have you shown up for women like that currently or in the past that you have courted? Like, what are some of the things? What have been some of your skill sets that you put into play to get her?
Well, you know, I can only speak about what women who have dated me, some of them probably on here tonight, can say. Uh, why you make that face?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I was
Girl,
married.
I'm like, hey, girl.
Yeah, I was married. I'm still friends with my ex-wife.
Hey,
Like,
girl. That's why
you're
I'm
not
like,
friends with your ex if something wasn't right in that relationship, right?
mhm.
And so I think that although I may have had, you know, my issues, that I think I always showed up for the women that I dated in a way that still protected who they were. I didn't leave them in this bad space, emotionally, you know, financially, whatever it is. And so that's why I can still communicate with a lot of my exes. Now, I don't mean to say obviously clearly didn't do everything right because we're not still together. But I think it's important that you're not out here just creating this trail of brokenness, because I think that the position you left your last relationship in is going to set the tone for your next relationship. Is what I feel. Somebody
I,
asked the question,
yes.
now I think, about what if the woman's way of showing that is through her finances? Because that leads to a larger topic that we actually discuss a lot of times. And it's like this trend of Black women in America supporting their man. And when you start thinking about this conversation we're having, that independence, right? Where Black women are, you know, achieving at a higher rate than men. And now they're more financially successful. They're more educated. And this is all data that shows us, right? So why are they not choosing men that are seemingly on their level? Or is it that independence where they're choosing men that they can have some level of control over financially?
Some women do, yeah. Some women do target men that they can control based on, yes, all of those things. I agree, Brandon. And I'm aware of people that, you know, some people that do that. But one thing that you mentioned that is really key is trust, the word trust. As someone who is in a leadership role at work, I'll just talk about that as an example. Typically, when I make a decision at work, I typically trust the people that I work with to bounce stuff off of them and talk about, hey, we're going to make this change. What do you think? I need your feedback. And I operate naturally in the same manner when it comes to relationships, right? It's not something where I'm code switching or I'm losing power or in any way. It's just something that naturally happens when it comes to being in a relationship or courting with someone that I trust. Now, if there is lack of trust and I've seen that they've made bad decisions in the past, I'm just, whether I'm independent or not, whether I have money or not, I'm just not gonna, the respect is just gonna not be there if I don't trust you on your decisions that you've made.
Would you stay in that relationship?
I know it's just that once respect is gone, it's just not. It's just gonna be a downturn for me. And I think I have been in a relationship where the respect, I did lose respect, and it just didn't make any sense to drag it on for too long, because once I lose respect for you, it's really hard to gain it back. Once I lose trust that you are someone that can make good decisions for both of us, it's just not gonna work out. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, do we kind of, I guess in this, I'll call it the courting phase, because I feel like this is where a lot of the foundation is laid. Are there signs that we're just not paying attention to because they have all these accolades and they fit the mold, and then once we really get in a relationship, we start to peel back the tape and we're just like, oh, well, she or he was this, that, and the other, and he's not that, or she was this, that, and the other, and they are not that. And we're like, oh, I thought they were free thinking and so on, and they are that, but they still don't understand how to come together as we. And so I'm always trying to understand, like, many relationships right now are in a conundrum, or people are just staying single for a reason, right? There's more single people now out there than ever. So I'm always wondering, what are our actual expectations, or do we even have any expectations or things that we truly want when we're trying to even choose someone, let alone be in a relationship with someone? But the process that we are going through, our picker, and how we're picking, if that makes sense.
I think people show you who they are. I think there are less people in the world who can hide who they are. I think people tend to date people, and then when they see things they don't like, ignore it. For what reason, I can't tell you. Maybe it's an issue of they're not comfortable going to their partner and explaining that these things I've noticed and I'm not comfortable with it. Where do we go from here? Because it is an uncomfortable conversation, because basically it is a kind of criticism. And sometimes, it was very interesting. Human beings, sometimes we try to criticize people and try to do it in a constructive manner, but based on, let's say, situation or just whatever, it doesn't always come out in that, in that way. So I think people do stay in relations that they know they really shouldn't be in, because there are things that are signs that are red flags that you just can't deal with. Even if it's not bad things, just things that you just know you can't deal with, and you deal with it for too long until it blows up. I think the other thing about when you talk about people being single, what I'm kind of realizing this is that people, when you're coming into a relationship, people really don't like compromising. It's very surprising to me. You say, oh, I'm willing to work with them. Oh, I can deal with your differences, whatever it is. But you can talk about it, but to actually compromise, when I say compromise, I mean in action. Meaning, like, there's certain things like, you know what? I love all these things about you. I'm going to deal with this bad part of you because the good outweighs the bad. That's compromise. A lot of people can't do that. It's my way or the highway.
It depends on what you're compromising on, though.
With you, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people, but even people don't tend to they think they are, but they don't. So I'll give you an example. Compromising is not, okay, I'm going to deal with it because whatever it is, but then I'm going to have an attitude about the situation the whole time. That's not compromising, because in some shape or form, you're showing your dislike to whatever it is, and the other person is just looking at you like, breathe for a second. So, to me, you can say I'm compromising, but does your behavior, your reaction to it, does that really show that you're compromising?
Yeah, but it depends on what you're compromising with, though. Are you compromising on
So give me an
something that
example.
could be detrimental to you and your family in the long run? Or are you compromising on something like, I don't know, you want to paint the house green and I paint it blue? It depends on what you're compromising about. Because
What are some of the biggest compromises that you guys found challenging in previous relationships that you had an attitude about?
surprises, financial freaking surprises, when shit comes knocking at your door and you're like, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you pay this? Or, the shit that could have a detrimental effect on either, down the line on something like your credit, or your ability, like there's things that could actually have detrimental effects down the line. I hate surprises. Sorry.
So let me say this, and even in relationships, you are going to have surprises. I think the question is, and I think what David is saying, how do you deal with them? How do you deal with the surprises? Are you ready? I'm just saying, are you ready to do you become not FloJo? What's her name? You sprint out the door? Are you?
It depends.
Are you working it out? And I think that's the thing. Like, are you disrupting? And maybe this is the mindset of independence, right? And maybe I don't know.
A surprise kid, Natalie. It's tomorrow. You come home and
people have stayed on surprise kids.
That's what I'm saying, though. There's a level of compromising. Some people don't think.
So not to cut you off, in a situation with a child, that's a perfect example. That for me is not an issue of compromise.
Exactly.
That's not an issue of compromise. You know what that is? That's the issue of where you have now lost the trust and the respect of the other person. Mm-hmm. That's not about compromise.
It's gonna have an effect on your life.
I agree forward. With you. But what I'm saying is that I agree with you on that type of example. But that doesn't speak to compromising. That speaks to a lack of, at that point, you've lost my trust. You've lost my respect.
Everything.
Because to be honest, so using that example, a compromise could be, when I say, if I use this example that you're using now, is, well, you've told me this now. I'm having a hard time dealing with this, but because everything else, we've had this relation, this is a roadblock for us now. How do we work from this so I can make this work? Because I love you and I think we can go somewhere. That's a major compromise, don't get me wrong, but that's what I'm talking about, compromising to an extent. That is the issue of like trust. But most people don't like to compromise, even over like little things.
So, Dave, give us an example what you're talking about. People don't like to compromise over in little things.
Can I give an example?
Go ahead,
please.
And it doesn't have to be, even something little. We're dating now a year, and we decide we want to move in together. Do we move in your place or my place? And how do we compromise on that?
Can we get a new place?
That's a good one, Brandon.
That's a compromise. Like in a relationship, that's a compromise. Like it doesn't have to be this extreme. You got a kid, or,
For me, you know what a compromise is? Either we both find our own, we find a brand new place for both of us to move in.
Yes.
Or if one person says, okay, if you move in here, let's do this. You can make half the home, whatever it is, the way you like it, so that you can feel at home in this place and not feel like a stranger in it.
Yeah. But
knowing that you might take over my man cave and partially change that. That's a compliment on my part, knowing that, okay, if I want to make this work, I'm going to have to eat some crow on that. But I want to be with you. So let's make that work to an extent.
I always recommend, though.
That's a better one, the birthday thing. But when it comes to that extent, I would say, what are our goals? Like, maybe one of us owns, or we're both trying to move towards ownership. So what makes financial sense for us to do? Is it more financially feasible because you have a better rent price right now for us to move in your place, even though it may be uncomfortable for a little while, but it's going to help us get to where we want to be. So are we willing to compromise and be uncomfortable for a little while?
So I want to ask, especially Anthea, and I'll even answer this. Do you find that compromise is difficult when you have been dating somebody that has been single and living their lives freely, a little bit more difficult than those folks who are just coming out of who have are coming out of a relationship, when you're talking about moving in together or even simple things that we're compromising on? Let's say you're even living in separate cities and y'all are trying to figure out how to navigate seeing each other. So like that compromise, do you even bring it up?
Yes.
I mean, when I was married, we were living in two different states. So the compromise was I had to fly down to Atlanta a lot of times, and once in a while, he would fly back based on schedule. So that was a compromise. That I mean, I was on a plane all the time. And so that was a compromise that I was willing to work with. It was hard, but it's one of the compromises if you want something to work.
Did you have an attitude, Anthea, when you had to go to Atlanta?
No, I actually, thought about it as like an adventure. I prepared, I had this and that, I bought new lingerie, whatever it is, it was just something like, okay, this is what we're going to have to work with. So let's make the best of it. No,
See,
when it comes to, I'm triggered by surprises, and when I say surprises, I mean bad surprises that have an effect on the future of
relationship.
of us. So that those compromises, while in the past I may have swallowed them or whatever, I can't do it. I can't do it.
At this point in your life, you can't
No,
do it.
I can't do it. No.
And you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Agree.
So I want to kind of dive into the whole conversation around 50-50. And when does 50-50 apply when we're courting, and when does it apply when we are in a relationship? So let's start with the courting aspect, because there's this whole concept of 50-50, Dutch, so on and so forth. When does it apply?
I mean, in terms of like boarding, I mean, I don't have a problem with it at all. I think there's a delicacy when it comes to it sometimes. The situation that Dave described earlier on, is something that I probably wouldn't do. But an offer, or can I take you out for a drink? I don't see a problem with that.
I think it depends on like what space both people are in.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're keeping tabs on it if you're saying 50-50 type thing. Like, that's strange to me. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, I took you out 5 times. You know,
Right.
like that. Yeah, you're probably not made for each other. I think that you do in your conversation start trying to figure out like where you're both at financially and what goals you have for yourself financially. I don't eat out on my own. Like, I eat at home because I prefer my own food. So I'm going to take you out initially because that's what we do. But then once we learn each other, then I'm like, okay, I prefer you cook or I cook. Where are we eating at tonight? Your house, my house. Like that type of thing. Or if we are now kind of spending most of the nights together, we figure out what we want to eat. Every now and then we might eat out. And you might say, hey, Brandon, you're getting home later tonight from school. So I ordered us Thai food. You already know what I like. It was done. You're not saying, oh, cash out me back $40.
I was in a relationship when I was in college doing my grad degree, and the person that I was dating, like, he would buy groceries and then I would cook and then take food for him at work. He worked at SIAC at the time, Lower Manhattan. So it wasn't like a do for do or anything like that. We just kind of decided together that it would be easier because I had the time to cook. I could bring it for you, or I could bring it to school and you could, whatever it is. But as long as, we work together. I think that's fair. But I mean, you were talking earlier on today, Natalie, and as I told you, I am equally happy if we spread a blanket on the floor and watch movie night, turn the lights off, and just have pizza or something simple at home. Or I equally like to get dressed up and go out. But if I had to choose one over the other, let's stay in and do something creative, candlelight on the floor, something like that. I don't know, but it's not about the glitz glamour all the time. And there's a lot of misconception of what people think that you want versus talking to someone and asking them.
So
sometimes you have to be clear on what you're presenting too. Because would you fly coach if we go on vacation?
I was about to ask that. Thank you,
Got your
Brandon.
answer.
Well,
You already got your answer. You don't need the
you know
answer.
what? I think that's a good question because I'm gonna let your
Saying, because I remember on Emirates somebody coming down from the spiral staircase with champagne flutes. You know, to the common class of those of us that were in coach on Emirates.
Or would you upgrade? And I think this goes back to the independent conversation. Would you upgrade your man so he could be in business class with you?
Let me tell you something. If
yes, go ahead, Dr. O. You
no, Dr. O, hold up. Anthony, answer that question.
Listen, her laughter, you already got her answer. We don't need to have this conversation.
No. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. If you were on vacation with your significant other and he could not pay for the upgrade, would you?
Or he didn't want to pay for the upgrade. Not that he could.
He didn't want to pay for the upgrade, but you wanted him up there with you.
Okay, so there's two. That's two different things now.
He can't afford the upgrade. Let's just call it what it is. Maybe he cannot afford the upgrade.
It depends. I mean, if I have
wouldn't be dating him. She probably wouldn't be dating. Let's go with, he said, I don't think we should spend money on the upgrade.
Okay, so no, that's a different story, Brandon. I would listen. I definitely would listen.
Would you fly coach with him, Anthony?
So if we're in a relationship, wait, hold on.
Right, like answer the question.
Wait.
Give the stipulations. Would you fly coach with your man?
It depends
if he
because
purchased those tickets and he's taking you on vacation, he purchased coach tickets. You're in the middle seat.
No, that's fine. No.
If she purchased them, but
Natalie, I have been taken on vacation in coach, and I didn't complain. It was fine.
You wouldn't go and try to upgrade the tickets and tell him you're going to pay for the upgrade.
No.
No.
Thank you, Anthony. I love you for that response. I would hope so.
Y'all let her live in that safe space. Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So it's funny now because she kind of made something that influenced me. There's a matter of when you're dealing with a man, and I'm going to say this, man. Listen, I can't speak for other people. There is a level of respect that you should have for your man, to be honest, for your partner in general. But when you're dealing with a man, I'm gonna say there's a difference between a man and a man, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to give you a definition of that. If all he can do, he says, I want to take you somewhere, I want to get away, and at that particular moment, all he can afford is coach classes, coach tickets, get you somewhere, and you then say to him, well, this is not enough, I want to go here. It is kind of a slap to the face.
Yes.
For me.
Yes. That's a disrespect. That's a disrespect.
And that is where sometimes when we talk about this definition of independent women and in a relationship is like, do you understand the relationship you're in and the type of man that you have? Some men will say, listen, I don't care. You want to, that's fine. Some will be like, listen, this is what I did. This is what I could do for you. If that's not good enough for you, then you don't need to throw that in my face. Know who you're dating. You know, to me, honestly, if we were dating and there was that situation and she said, no, well, I'm going to upgrade us, I'm going to look at you like, okay, this trip is not going to go too well.
But what
here is where I would upgrade, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
I know you want to go there. Here is where I would upgrade. If he said, look, I never been to first class. I would love to know what it feels like, but I really can't afford it. If I am able to upgrade him and say, okay, I have a surprise for you. You said you couldn't do this, and I wanted to do this for you. That's a totally different thing.
Yes, and that is understandable.
Somebody Ann says she will compromise for Coach, but not the hotel.
You want to stay in the Coach hotel?
And it's so funny you said that. I was going to say that. So
Coach
one thing
hotel.
that my wife will not compromise is hotels. She's a hotel snob. So if we go somewhere, to be honest with you, if I'm looking, if I have to look at my finance and say, oh, okay, we're going to go here, I will put the money towards the hotel, knowing that that's what she really likes, knowing that the airfare and how we get there is not a big deal to her, but where she lays her head is a big deal. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, understand who you're with. But I have to say this, and I hope I say this, I hope I can say this correctly. There is, and I'm trying not to generalize, there is an issue with some women at times where they equate independency and don't understand the respect for a man. And I'm going to say this very clear. And I know some women are gonna disagree with this, and that's fine. There are some men in life, and I'm telling you, I think I might be falling to one of them. That is, even if you don't want to love me anymore, I don't care, but respect me. Respect matters to me, you know. And I think sometimes women don't understand. It doesn't matter how independent you are. Respect who you're with.
Yes, I think, and that's exactly what I was saying earlier. If my respect went out the door for you, it's really, you shouldn't be with a person that you don't respect.
So I love somebody brought up the Lisa Ray interview. And when she said she only dates men that can pay her bills and match her wealth, and so on and so forth, which some people may say hyper dependency, just like Drea with the house that she was going to buy from her such and such. And I always feel like, you know, people are just like, we want women to be submissive and in their feminine energy. When does that type of energy become a little too much? Or when is it attractive, and when does it become a complete turn off?
But why is it that people believe that you can't be feminine and still be an independent woman?
Yeah.
Well, why?
I agree, but what I'm trying to say is now, I'm not even talking about independent. I'm talking about dependency, hyper dependency, not and the space of where you're so dependent that you are, and I'm using the Drea. I think she's a little bit of an extreme, where I think she was living in her baby daddy's. I think she is. Maybe I'm making this up, but did she get pregnant?
She was with a man. The man put her in a house
because
he told her that she could rent the house until she buys it.
Right.
She's pregnant for somebody else,
but
even living in the house.
But even somebody like the Lisa Rays of the world, which I don't necessarily like, matching your wealth so you can make sure that he can move the way you move, or so on and so forth, and having all your finances in order so there's no suffering. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I have more questions than answers. I have a question for it. So in her situation, because I can't say I know the whole details on this, she's still currently single, correct?
Who?
She is.
Lisa Ray.
And Ray, both.
Right. She's wealthy to whatever extent it is what we consider wealth, right? She's comfortable. Mm-hmm. But she's still single. You know why? Because her mindset makes no sense to me. If you are that wealthy and you're comfortable, finance is not an issue. Are you worried about finances and somebody giving you what you want, or somebody that makes you happy? Because finances should not be an equation for her, in my opinion.
That's a great question. I agree.
I wonder if the finances is what makes her happy. Is it the lifestyle? Is it the such and such? And that could be it. Look, it may be the whole opulence of how she lives and how men treated her in the past. I don't see anything. It's what it is, and she's asking for exactly what she wants. And I think we constantly demonize women who ask that, but so be it.
No, I don't think
I wouldn't demonize her, but I would say that if you have to say that or lead with that, that's something going on internally inside of you.
Yes.
You just know that in your mind, you don't date a certain type of women. I know in my mind, I'm not dating a certain type of women. I'm not going around broadcasting that you have to be whatever. I'm not mad at her because she wants to date a person that's equally or wealthier than her. I want to date a woman that is, in a certain financial space, just so we can have more together, right? And we can build upon that. She can make a little more than me. She can make a little less than me. You know what I'm saying? So
what's a little more, Brandon? How much more can she make than you?
Listen,
I don't know that it's a number on it. If she's, making a lot more than me, you know what I'm saying?
She make double more than you, and you would be comfortable with that. I've heard men say she cannot make double what I'm making.
She can't. She could be a millionaire, right? And she's a millionaire, and we connect, and things are good, and we're dating, and she's used to certain things at a certain level. She has to understand that, okay, you might have to foot the bill for that, because I'm not. When we can fly Emirates coach, and I'm just as comfortable, then I'm not paying that extra $3,000 for you to be picked up at the house. But if you want to pay it, you know what I'm saying? And it
was more than 3,000.
So you're okay. So back to
she has it and she wants to pay it. Listen, I am telling you, I can be steady.
Yeah, look, I will agree with
that's what the situation calls for. That does not make me
Brandon,
less
you
of a
are
man.
you
I
are
don't
you are
contradicting
yourself because you did not say that earlier.
No. I think he said that. No. Look, I don't know. Look,
I'm saying the same thing, because still, no matter how much she's making, she's gonna respect me as a man. And
bingo.
She still needs me for something. She might not need my money per se, but she needs me for something.
Okay, so perfect example. I hate to oversimplify this. If my wife is making $5 million a year, that's fine with me. Just like Brandon said earlier, there's only two things that is that obviously it's not the finances that she needs from me. It's the other things that I'm doing for her that has nothing to do with finances that matters. And for me is that please just note that just because you're making more money than me doesn't mean that you don't have respect for me as your husband.
So can I ask gentlemen, I have one question. What are y'all doing for women? I want to know, what are y'all doing? I asked you again, how are you guys showing up? What are you doing? I know, Dave, you said you are the breadwinner, but she does carry her own. But what are you doing outside of the money situation that makes her want to stay?
I'll give you
insert eggplant emoji.
Yes, insert. That's one.
Besides your pee, what else are you doing?
I'll give you something else that's really interesting. Most people underplay this until they're in this situation. Yes. And I think I don't know. Someone mentioned it earlier. Safety.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something. My wife knows when we go out there, God forbid anything happens. I don't give a fuck if you are 7 foot tall or 3 foot tall. You mess with my wife, I'm gonna fuck you up. We're gonna have that conversation. Those things matter. Little things like that we don't necessarily talk about makes a difference. You'll be surprised when you do have the general conversation with your friends, how sometimes women will talk about, well, I don't want to date a guy who can't necessarily protect me. Those things, little things like that make it matter. When my wife comes in and there's certain things I have to deal with in the house, those are things that she doesn't have to deal with. Those little things.
I don't want to call safety a little thing, because for me, that's my number one need. If I'm in a relationship with a man, I need to feel safe. I don't want to exercise my masculine energy at all. If I have to, I have to, but I don't want to go there. I want to.
Does safety include no surprises?
You're right.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not just about, I was going to say that. It's not physical safety. It's I'm protecting you in all aspects. I may have to protect you if you're making money like that. I may have to protect you from your own family.
Yes.
Like it's the whole thing. I'm protecting what we have and what we're building as well.
Exactly.
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
Can I give an example? So funny. When my wife was working at a particular college, it's very interesting. Something happened with some of her coworkers, and they were being real nasty to her and things like that. On Valentine's Day, because I don't know, y'all women, y'all are some petty people sometimes. I literally bought her like 24 roses, right? And they came at separate times. The envy of the women that were basically being haters on her, their faces and the hate that they gave her was so gratifying to her, because she basically was like, listen, you can do what you want. I have someone that cares about me, that loves me, and you guys ain't get shit or whatever. Next, another set of flowers come in, and they're like, oh, who did this for you? My husband. Get away from me. Point being is that those little mental things, I'm giving you signals that it doesn't matter where you are, what environment you are, whether you are at home or at work or anywhere else, I got you. I will make you feel better and above other people so no one demeans you. Those little things make a difference. For me, I'll be honest with you, forget finances. For me, for my wife, I just want to know that you have my back. I don't need you for everything else. That when things really do get down, I know that you can hold me down. That matters.
So I want to, the one thing I do want to talk about, because I think this is also the kind of the independent thing. And somebody was just like, what makes a woman independent and how do we get to these spaces? And so I told Anthony, I was like, I feel like men have not evolved in a way that we have evolved, and it triggered a lot of shit. And what I mean by that was, it's interesting, when I looked at the divorce rate, I was just like, the people who file for divorce are the majority women, correct? And so when I was looking at it, it's because what has happened is there has been a lot of women feel like, I'm sacrificing myself for his peace, to keep peace in the house, to keep certain things going, to this, to that. It could be communication. It could be a lot of things. And I was just like, is there an imbalance going on that women feel like they become more relied upon instead of having someone who is reliable once relationships start and comfortability starts to set in?
You use some like really strong words. So I think
I did that for a reason.
It's the wording that can throw you off.
I know it's triggering.
No, it's not triggering for me. It's just that is it necessary? I don't know. Like when you say women have evolved more than men or whatever, it's like you're saying men have to minimize in some way what was the natural or standard thing for men because of your evolution. And if we don't, then we haven't evolved.
No, I didn't say minimize. I just said, I think like we have always had to adapt in a certain way. I feel like women have always been very adaptable in our sacrifice, but especially when I'm talking about Black women, especially us in our community.
You don't think men have been adaptable?
I'm not saying that men that have not been adaptable.
Like y'all were wearing your natural hair in the 70s, then you start wearing freeze curls in the early 90s and 80s, and braids and weaves and eyebrows.
Y'all are adaptable. Y'all are adaptable.
Nails and
but
now
fake
booties and chicken cutlets to lift up your breast. And you saying we ain't evolved? Like, we have to accept all those things. We don't know what we get until you get home and pull that shit off.
Look, I'm gonna say this, and I don't know. It doesn't matter how people take it. I think men adapt very well to situations.
Yeah, we had to.
I think in certain situations, and I'm not gonna say all women. I'm not gonna generalize that, but there are certain women who are very emotional about things. Mm-hmm. I don't think can communicate very well. And in order to maintain a household, you have to adapt to those gyrations of emotions and lack of communication or whatever it is to make sure that you keep, even if you're not keeping my peace, to keep the peace. I think at times men don't get enough credit for that, because at the end of the day, I think men at the end of the day are natural protectors and providers. And it's not easy for us to come out of that mode. So when you have to, in order to keep peace, you have to do a lot of adapting, even at times going against things that you don't necessarily agree with, to keep that peace, so to say.
And I would say that to that point, Doctor, it's not natural for, use that term, a man's man earlier, for a man to come out of that mode. And let that down. And a woman can recognize that if she's dealing with that type of man, and she knows, like, okay, I can approach him in a different manner so that I don't have to make him feel like he's coming out of that mode, and we can still compromise, and both of us can be good in what that decision is and in a good, healthy space, at the end of that.
Yep.
Right. Y'all not right.
We all remember that.
Oh Lord Jesus. So as we kind of come to a close, I always wonder, like, these final thoughts, because even as we talk about relationships and where we are today, like I said, even at our age, there's more of us that are single than ever. So what needs to happen for us, the modern woman and today's man, to become a we again, to be in that space, if that makes sense? Like, what are the elements that need to happen in this day and age, where we are at this age, for us to become in a space of we? Because we're not living in that space currently. Everybody's kind of in silos.
Yeah, we're all living independently,
right?
And we need to start talking to each other. I think sometimes what I see is there is a fear of let's hang out, because some women may think a man wants something, the man may think the woman wants something. And instead of having a conversation and just coming together and talking to each other, we make so much assumptions about each other that we just tend to either butt heads or just push each other apart. I can't tell you enough. I've done it too, that I look on somebody and just be like, oh, I ain't doing that, whatever. And I'm sure people have done that to me as well too. And instead of having a conversation and realizing, hey, we're not that bad. We shouldn't be scared of each other. Let's talk more to each other.
I think that as a race, we need to start thinking about our future and how we continue to build things better for each other. I think that to a certain degree, it is okay to like certain things and want certain things for yourself and that type of thing. And we have to appreciate that in each other. So if I'm dating you and you're used to your girlfriend trips and all of that, I don't want to remove that from you. I'm just saying, like, how can we make things better for us now? Because you are in a relationship now. And so what does that look like? And so how do we make this cost effective within our relationship? Because we're building something, we're getting older, we want to retire and all of that. We're past that 20s, 30s, 40s stage, some of us. Yeah, that, we are now looking at something different. And like you said, we're older. A lot of us are single, don't have kids. Like, what does that look like in 15, 20 years for us? We have to start making some serious decisions here. And not just saying, because I can right now and I make 50 look good. I wasn't saying me. I'm saying.
Yes, you were. It's okay, Brad.
I really wasn't saying me.
You look good, man. Just take it. You look good.
Honestly, because y'all know I tell you the truth. I really wasn't.
We know you will.
Even though I do make 50 look good, but I'm just saying, like, I was speaking for y'all women. Like, women are out here making 50 look good, and I'm a man that likes them.
No.
That's my age or older, right? So, because I don't care about little young girls. So, for me, it's like we have to get serious about this thing now, and that's what I'm thinking about, making sure I'm in that right space too. I still have goals for myself. I'm still out here, accomplishing things at 50. So I want to say, how does that work? How do we work together and say, what does this start to look like in the next 10, 15 years as we move towards retirement? What do I have now? What am I still trying to gain? So to me, that's what I got to get serious about that, because hanging out, taking a vacation, do that anytime, anywhere, done it.
There you go. Dave, what about you? How do you maintain your we in your house?
Honestly, I think open communication, no matter how uncomfortable it is, and compromise. I mean, I know earlier I just kept saying, but I really think that's one of the biggest issues with people, and it's even within our own community. We don't compromise. We say there's nothing with wanting what you want, but realize that that's when you're by yourself. When you're with someone now, you got to think of both parties. And I like what Brandon said earlier. That's part of also thinking about where your future is. Where do we both see ourselves in a couple of years? And when it comes to that, it's so funny when you talked about not having kids. I make the joke all the time. My boys are such mama's boys that when we get into our 60s and 70s, they're going to throw me in a home and they're going to move mommy into the house with them. But those are part of things that you think about, because we had the conversation about what wealth are we building? Who are we giving it to? What are we building for our kids? Those are honest conversations that you have, because sometimes you could be on two different pages. Like you just said earlier, there's some people saying, listen, once I turn 55, I just want to travel and spend my money. I don't care. While the other person is saying, well, I still have future goals and things I want to accomplish. If you guys are that far apart, that's not going to work. So those open, honest communications, no matter how uncomfortable it is, it gets there. And to be honest with you, what I love about uncomfortability? It kind of makes you realize what the person is really willing to go through with you if you're going to move forward. Because if they're not willing to have that conversation and they're really saying, no, F this, I don't care about that, they're telling you where they're at. Now it's up to you to decide what you want to do with that person.
I agree, Dave. I think that uncomfortability, it brings about vulnerability.
Yes.
So you can really grow together. Like, it's something beautiful about it. When you are in a we, when you become a we, when you we yourself together, it's something that really brings about a space of just development and appreciation when you can get to the other side of the conversation. And the conversation don't stop. It just continues and it opens up into something else. So I do agree with that. So I got my fireside questions for y'all. Y'all got 50 seconds. Now I know y'all
15 or 50?
15 seconds.
Okay.
15 seconds to answer these questions. All right. Y'all kind of answered this. I think y'all talked about courting. When is 50-50 necessary in a relationship?
Never, because you shouldn't be counting.
Okay. That's
the same response. Never. If that person is always counting every dollar we do and says, well, this is what I spent and now you need to spend this, me and you don't belong together, period.
Anthea?
Is that what you meant by the question, though?
Girl, just answer the question. What do you think it means?
I think you're talking about when do you feel like you have to jump into help? No?
No, whatever it means. Whatever it means for you.
That's what it means for me.
Okay. What makes someone relationship material for you?
They are breathing. Now, of course.
They're breathing, Brandon.
Are you alive?
LOL.
Yeah. Brandon, you crack me up. Listen, you a good looking brother. I don't think that should be your baseline that they're breathing.
Oh, Jesus.
Are they alive? Are you in there?
Anthea, what makes someone relationship material for you at this age?
I'm sorry? Were you talking to me?
Anthea, what makes someone relationship material?
Oh, someone that is grown, mature. I need maturity, honesty, and a sense of humor.
Dave, what made your wife marriage material? I'm just going to go ahead and, because you married.
Having my back. That's it.
She had your back.
Okay. Just have my back. To be honest with you, and I don't want to use the word loyalty too strongly. Just someone that, besides being loyal, just someone that that when things get crazy, they're there for you. You can depend on them. That's it.
Safety as well.
Safety, yes. Yeah.
What does marriage ask you to give up to work? What do you have to give up?
In a marriage?
In a marriage.
Selfishness.
Yeah.
I believe you have the right to be selfish on certain things because that's who makes you who you are. But at the end of the day, you cannot be so selfish where you don't think about the picture of you together. Like for me, that's the way I look at it is that there's so many things I want to do, but I have to take into account my wife and my kids.
Okay.
My
two single people. What are the things you think you would have to give up in a marriage?
Independence.
You said independence, Anthea? Okay. Yeah. Brandon?
I would choose to focus on what I'm gaining.
Mm-hmm. And business class. Somebody said in business class.
Coach, you flying, Coach?
we got bills to pay.
Flying coach. Unless one of us changing careers, I work with kids. Kids need coach.
I'm gonna skip this. How do you develop trust in a potential relationship?
How do you build it?
How do you develop trust? How do you develop
consistency?
Consistency.
They learn your patterns, so they know.
Agreed.
Okay.
You always know when a man's cheating when he breaks his pattern because we are very
easy
of habit. We're creatures of habit. When he come home and now he want to bring home a Senate bath and body work, you're like some woman done told him to smell good.
I will. You know what? I
was using Dove ever since I met him.
Ever bring me no Bath and Body Work, but don't ever do that ever again. We just have to train him. Absolutely not. I'd be like, thank you, babe, but don't do that no more. How much does money play a factor in the survival of a relationship?
It's still the number one reason for divorce in this country, finances.
It's a big percentage, a large percentage. You want to be able to make sure that the person that you're with is able to take care of themselves. And if something happens to you, is able to carry on the relationship.
So I'll just say like this. I remember having a conversation with my wife a little bit after we got married where I said, listen, I want you to do certain things with your accounts, open certain accounts, things that I have no knowledge of. I said, I don't ever think that we will ever get divorced. But the point being is that if God forbid we ever did, you can stand on your own 2 feet. So I do think that it is important. Like Brandon said, it is the number one reason why most people, get divorced. And to be honest, I think people need to understand. I mean, I don't know how many relationships that you guys know where they're basically making the same amount. At some point, someone's always making more than the other. That's really not the main issue for me. The question is whether is the other person, if you're handling the finances, is the other person helping you to do the other things that help you maintain your life? That's really what it is. Like, I don't have to worry about certain things that she takes care of, and it makes my life so much easier, and it has nothing to do with finances.
That, and I'm not trying to use that as some type of control or power over her. Like, oh, you spent that on that, or question her in that sense or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think when you start to use that as some type of power or control over your partner, it's not good.
Yeah.
All right. And is chivalry and or romance dead? Why or why not?
It's not dead.
It's not
dead. You got the first probably year, chivalry will remain alive. And then after that, somebody made the statement the other day. I should tell the story. That I only open the door for them when they're dressed nice. Like you got on like a hat and a sweatsuit, you open the damn door yourself. Like,
wow,
I like that though.
If we're going out and you're dressed up and you're fancy, I feel like I need to, honor that. Yeah. You put work in. If you didn't put no work in to your little outfit, and you look regular, you look every day, you look like you look very bridge and tunnel, then I probably ain't open the door for you.
I think listen, romance only dies if you let it die. And I think I will say this, some of the women are gonna hate me in the room for this, but I will say this, there's certain things that I think is so funny is that when you're in a relationship for a long time, you get so comfortable. The little things that you used to do You know, now you're not dressing sexy for them anymore. You're just coming down, you're in your sweatpants, you don't care about this. And it's just like, well, damn, what is that? That is part of keeping the romance going. Like, there's a reason why you had that sexual attraction. Well, if you're not giving that energy anymore, then it's like, what's the point?
Well, you have to have the fair expectations too. Like,
of course. No, I don't think it's every day.
Stuff like that, and it's not every day. But
listen, we got 2 boys. Trust me, we ain't doing this every day.
Yeah, you got to understand, like, sexy is something different at this point, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because your body don't look the same as it did in that lingerie when we first started dating. You know,
it may look better.
It may.
So your body don't look the same too in the model.
You're not gonna see me trying to put on no lingerie.
I know you're not gonna put on lingerie, but baby,
I am a lingerie girl, and I believe
you got it on now.
On that note, we're gonna.
I need to hang out with you on the weekend, man.
Lord.
Natalie, I wanted to ask you a question, though. Yes. Did we answer the question about the truths and the myths? What did we understand or learn about the truth and the myths of an independent woman?
What is the moral of the story?
So I think the moral of the story is that the independent woman does not want to be the sole proprietor of her life. I mean, she wants to be the person that is, you know, probably open. She may be a little bit wounded. So I always say, don't be so quick to write her off. She wants the warmth and the confidence and the willingness to be vulnerable, but she probably needs somebody to allow her to be open, and somebody who comes to her open. And you probably have a wonderful person by your side. So she's just looking for that strong man who's willing to embrace her and give her a chance to be herself, and just give her permission to let go. So, you know, I think that's all she wants. And I think the best relationship is when 2 independent people come together and they form an independency that is beautiful and loving and creates space for both of them to thrive. So, I celebrate independent women, and I celebrate men who also embrace us and we embrace them. That's it. Boop.
Great job.
Great job.
Nice.
Thank y'all. Come to the after party. This was good. We were nice to each other.
So funny.
You expected something different?
No, Brandon was like, I don't like y'all. Boom. And then we became nice.
We love our Black women.
I trust
we
them. They know I support them. If you're a Black woman in my life, you know that.
Right. And we support y'all. We do. We love y'all.
Absolutely.
Come to the after party, everybody. Because y'all still, let me say this. Y'all Black men still ain't involved. Come on in.
I know we ain't. Can you put the after party in the chat?
Yes, I will put the after party in the chat. Let's put the after party in the chat. Where is the after party? Lord Jesus.
Join Stacked After Hours, The Spot, where grown men and women gather to have candid, also honest discussions about the state of life, love, and more. The Spot is a hybrid of in-person and weekly virtual gatherings. Join our Facebook group and answer our daily questions. Subscribe to our YouTube for our weekly live talk shows, and join us on Zoom for our talk show after parties for lively conversations with other opinionated, grown, and sexy professionals. Just search, like, follow, and subscribe to Stack After Hours on Facebook groups and YouTube. Also like and follow our brand pages at Be Stacked Wellness on Facebook and IG. So wherever you are, at home or abroad, pull out your laptop, tablet, or smartphone and join in the conversation with the members of Stacked After Hours. The Spot by Be Stacked Wellness. See you there.
As you know, and if you are new to the Stacked family, We always keep our conversations lit and enlightening.